Hey guys, this is Tryke Gutierrez again, the CEO and co-founder of Tier One Entertainment. And again, like what I said in the previous episode, one of the reasons why I put up this podcast is because I see a lot of people um, talking about esports business and all that, but I haven't really seen a type of content where founders and other, like people in the industry, in the business, talk about the realities of the business, the challenging conversations. Because we all know that in social media, it's mostly the highlights, the good parts, but what about the challenges, the real problems, the real issues? So here I really want to talk about that. And for me to be able to kind of like show that side of myself, I need to be able with people who are in the business side of things as well. So today with me is a good friend of mine, JB. So can you introduce yourself, JB, to the audience?
Yes, hi Tryke. Thanks a lot for the invite. So glad to be able to continue our chat on and share that a bit with the audience. As I'm sure all your fans and our fans are gonna be excited to always learn more about the behind the scenes of the business and the ecosystems in general. And not to make it too much of a mystery. So personally, my name is Jean-Baptiste Roy. I've been living in Asia for the last 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I came originally to Asia, to Hong Kong, to do my master in finance in
Mm-hmm.
a university called Hong Kong UST. And from there, I was fascinated by the speed, by the people, by the energy, and uh, and that was 2007. So I thought, okay, I do believe there is growth potential in this part of the world at the time, and then from then on, I moved on to work into for more than 10 years in let's say more traditional type of finance for 5 years, more as in the M&A space, valuation space, uh, um, financial advisory side, doing a lot of cross-border, mostly between Europe and Asia. So it kind of at the beginning started where like, okay, European companies wanted to buy Asian companies and grow. And then over time evolved, it started to be okay, the Asian companies become bigger, bigger, richer. They say, hey, when can we buy the other side? So started to see this kind of evolving, and then from there I started to then work on the direct investment side for a European family office, and they're coming from the consumer goods industry, from the luxury goods industry, I would say. And at that time they were making a lot of money in China. They still do make so much money in Asia. I mean, every day you see hundreds of people with their with their product. And they were very interested to understand about what could be post luxury, what could be the future trends of uh, Asia consumer demands.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
were looking at a lot of other sectors of luxury that were entertainment, of course, sports, healthcare, tourism. So what I called the hobby dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and additional discretionary spend when people are getting wealthier in various countries where GDP rise. It allows additional discretionary spending that usually goes at the beginning, goes the first time you buy a house. But when
Mm-hmm.
you bought a
Mm-hmm.
house or two, then how many? Yeah, you get a car. But then now we want to be more environment friendly. Well, okay, we still buy some cars. I know you love cars. And then even in Manila's traffic.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like, okay, what do we care about? And we care about entertainment and sports. So then we were doing a lot of investment in that space in Asia, but also around the world. And from that time, I started to get approached by a lot of companies that wanted to penetrate Asia, wanted to understand how they can grow in Asia. Also, other Asian companies that wanted to get invested by us, but they didn't really have very concrete plan of what to do and deliver in this part of the world and how to tap their
It's more
growth.
of like I just want to be in Asia.
Yeah, they say we know it's growing, and now usually they will come and say, "Hey, give me some money." I was like, "Okay, I can give you some money, but we need to build. We are here to help company to grow in Asia, so you need a plan." Oh, but I don't know anything about Asia. How can I get a plan? So I was helping some, but then it was not my job. My job was to invest, so I couldn't do
Mm-hmm.
that. And then a
Mm-hmm.
lot of founders, etc., started to say, "Please help us, help us." And at some points, I found that okay, that's a good mission that that I think I'm willing to take on after 10 years. Here's like helping companies to grow Asia, and then my mission became how can I empower the growth of let's say sports, esports, and health and well-being in Asia for Asian consumers. So let's do better sports, better entertainment, better wellness, better esports, because consumer in Asia deserve better everything, everything, infrastructure, services, product. They're not. We are not just here to watch the Premier League and TV or the NBA. We need to have our own stuff. I mean,
Yes.
that's it. Otherwise, so that was my goal, and my goal was to. Then I stepped out and I created AST 4 years ago as a strategic advisory and financial advisory firm to do that, to empower companies to grow and then into this part of the world. And now we have clients from North America, Europe, and lots a lot for Asia, because thanks to that, the economy and those companies are growing. And we have amazing success like tier one in our region. And companies like this that are really at the forefront of it and are showing what Asia has to offer and how those companies can take over Asia and take over the world because they just do things differently. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I want to be able to talk more about that, right? Um, hmm? Can you hear me properly?
yes.
There seems to be a problem with my internet.
Oh,
Okay.
I saw you
Oh,
froze
okay
for a
lang ba 'to,
second,
Par?
but you
Rinig mo ako? Sorry, let me check. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just checked it. Maybe there was just a bit of an internet problem. Anyway, okay, one, two, three, go. Oh, so I want to talk about Asia, right? Like you were talking about Asia. You stayed here for 15 years. Obviously, you're technically Asian already, you know. So, like, what about Asia makes it so much exciting for an entrepreneur or an investor like you, right? Like, why is it different? Because obviously, like we all know the difference. People talk about the macro differences of Asia, but like being able to live here, what
Mhm.
do you think is different in terms of principles, everything like approach, all that? Like, can you talk about like specifics of the difference?
Yeah, of course there is lots, so we'll try to make it short. But first is the people. I love people in every countries. I have friends all over the region, and we always meet amazing people. And in the end, we are doing business. We run our own business, you and I, because and we
Mm-hmm.
want to choose who we want to work with and who we want to work with. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all is this. The second is the diversity. It's so refreshing. We have so many diverse kind of people in a quite compact zone, and we love to do that. We love this diversity. We love going from country to country and learning and seeing all new opportunities and as well different cultures, and the food of course is a big thing that makes us stay in the region. to
That's
be
true.
fair to be fair, we love it. Every country, oh my god, I'm so happy to go to Vietnam. Oh, I'm so happy to go to Thailand. Oh, I'm so happy to go to Japan, because we
Mm-hmm.
know it's a mix of things. There will be the people, there will be the culture, there will be the food. And I would say, as I was just saying before, is the energy. Really,
Mm-hmm.
like, we love how people are passionate about what they do and how much they're willing to grow and multitask. And everyone here is doing so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
People are not in boxes, which I think is really refreshing. And then we can talk about so many different topics, and people are more relaxed, more chilled. But in the end, they get things done at a speed that I think other places in the world don't do, and which is what usually creates a very big clash in terms of culture, because they don't understand the way we want to do things here. So
Yes,
uh,
because here it's a bit more output oriented rather than just being fixated with frameworks and a certain types of methodology. I think there's is more freedom to kind of like the frameworks and the methodology in terms of approach. And at the same time, like I just want to chime in that I feel like here in this part of the world, like we're very um focused on the politics of the room. You know what I mean? Like at times it's there also. You know, we're very like touchy when it comes to who should I talk to first, like who should I talk to second. Like all of these things matter because this person knows this person who is, you know, like in a way like that is a very important thing. I don't know if that exists in the West, but I guess outside of talking about that, right? Like where did you reside before going into Asia? Like where were you living?
Um, so I lived in Europe, originally from France, as you can
Mm-hmm.
hear, and I lived in the US as well for some time. So I worked in the US for a bit between my let's say my bachelor and my master degree to test out things, and then I thought that, I mean, I lived in Europe, tried in the US, but then I was okay, I still want to explore. Why don't I go to the other completely other side of the world? And I'd never been, I have no family, no one. I came here by myself, knowing
YOLO.
any knowing anyone, and I was like, oh, it looks cool. It's sunny. They have palm trees. They have good university and smart people. Well, let's see. And then I went there, and I was like, oh my god, this is definitely something I've never seen before, and I really felt myself like comfortable right away.
Did you go to
Um,
Hong Kong first, or like was that the
yes,
first Asian
yes.
country you went to?
Yes, I went to Hong Kong for my study. So I was based there. Hong Kong is a great place, as I say, from from a diversity, from a logistic and travel. You can very you could you go we I go from downtown to the airport in 24 minutes
That's cool.
with the train. 24. It's not 25. It's 24. I love that. At least we can plan. We know how many times door to door I go from my office to the door of the plane through the thing. It's like with it, less than 50 minutes, it's done. It's about these kind of things that allow you to travel, North Asia, China, South Asia. And of course, what's impressive is things have changed so much since I've been here.
That's
Whether than
true.
I go back to other places, I'm like, okay, this has never changed. I can go back 3 years there. There is no difference, nothing, nowhere. And I think this also impacts you when you see things changing around you. I think it's stimulating for you to move faster.
Mm-hmm.
Because here, this is some people say, oh, everything is so fast here, so much things. This should be very stressful, and because you can never stand still, which is
Mm-hmm.
true.
That's
But
true. That's true.
I think it really depends on people. To some people, it's gonna stress them because they never used to do that and they don't know
Mm-hmm.
this kind of environment. But I think to a lot of people, it actually motivates us and give us this extra kick we need every day. Say, hey, let's get things done, let's get things moving, let's keep on because some other people are doing that. And and in Asia as well, there are a lot of people too. So we know there are a lot of people around you that want to do the same thing as you. So you need to move quick.
Yeah, that's true. I think like in the recent years, obviously like the development of capitalization in Asia has really changed. Like there's more VCs that are looking into Asia. There's like a lot of private equity and a lot of like like investments that are just flowing into Asia because like what you said the action is here right now, especially in the different industries. Specifically, I guess for me with gaming and esports, it's been really hot in terms of our region just because of mobile gaming because mobile gaming obviously wasn't able to transcend in terms of like the way games are played in the West versus here and probably India and South America. But I think that is a huge development. But like with your line of work, obviously you see a lot of capital flowing from the West to Asia, right? And I think with that, I want to ask, in terms of operators here in Asia looking to find capital, do you think the abundance of capital has gotten to a point of equal from here or the West, or do you think the West has still more capital flowing versus like here?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I think I think it's an interesting development. Asia is so big, so if I wanted to be accurate, I would have to go country per country,
Oh, go.
sector per sector, because it's very very different. Between the very
That's
more
what I
mature,
like. You know your thing.
between no, between more mature markets like Japan, Korea.
Hmm.
Like of course, the China is an animal in itself in terms of capital markets and access to capital. And of course, in Southeast Asia, developments, between Singapore hubs and different countries and onshore funds in local places. There's a lot of difference in a way. But for example, if I could maybe summarize, so interestingly, early, to let's say before 2009, there was almost no private equity industry in Asia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the private equity really grew from there
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the funds were created in Asia 2009, thanks to the what they called it the QE, quantitative easing in the US. Financial following the financial crisis, a lot of capital came here because people are, oh, this is where we're gonna deliver growth. So actually, the capital from the US all came here, and then a lot of funds got created. So Asia benefited hugely of quantitative easing in creating a private equity industry, and that was kind of the first wave of private equity. So the industry is still not very old in this part of the world, to be fair. So
Mm-hmm.
it's still structuring, and that's why you still have, I would say, you have so much you still have a lot of very generalist fund in the region, to be fair, compared to other countries that have much more sector specific fund
That's true.
to see. So this is one of the reasons, is because the industry is not as big yet, so not as granular. So two, a lot of the funds, or I mean, you have of course the big institution, but then a lot of investors in Asia are as well coming somehow sort of linked to big families, or large enterprises, who usually have been conglomerates, who had a very broad type of activities. And then they may spin the vehicle, some of the members, they have money, they created vehicles, they invested LPs into others. And then with the how they have structured, they have created generally structure. So then it doesn't allow, it's not very easy sometimes for company founder to know who should I talk to as an investor, because I don't know, the guy does everything. Would he ever invest in me, because he has no track record in this space? So so there is an upside and downside to that. So that's why we as a firm have been helping a lot of investors to become much more savvy in investment opportunity in sports, esports, and health and well-being sector, which are the three vertical we cover, and understanding those opportunities, because they see it growing, but they don't really know the entire ecosystem, value chain, how to de-risk, how to grow them. So I think that it's definitely growing. There is more and more capital, and there will be more capital because those economies are growing. And we can see, if you look at the Philippines, for example, or Vietnam, the amount of local funds now versus 10 years ago, it has been growing well. And people are realizing that they need very specific knowledge in each of the country. So I think this is kind of the new trends, especially if you look at Southeast Asia. Many of it were structured, let's say, in Singapore, or at the beginning they had, like, say, Hong Kong to cover all Asia. Then they say we have Hong Kong for North Asia and Singapore for South Asia. And now from Singapore they say, okay, but actually we need to know very well Philippines, so we need a Philippine vehicle. We need to know Indonesia well, we need Indonesia vehicle. We need to know Vietnam well, Vietnam vehicle, because those economies are bigger, are growing, and you need dedicated team. You can't have as many generalists.
That's true. I think you covered a lot of really like good points on that, right? Like I think for one, the private equity institutions, in terms of like being able to funnel capital into the different startups and companies, have are technically not so old compared to like the Western institutions that are present. And I think with having multiple generalists approach that we have here in Asia, I think for me as a founder, it's helpful because when I started talking to when I talk to private equity or VC firms that have clear mandates, obviously they have a certain box where they can only work around in. And because of that, for every VC that you talk to who doesn't have the mandate for esports or gaming, or sometimes there are clear premise or multiplier in their minds where, okay, you're just 4x, okay, this is 7x, this is 8x, this is 10x. In a way, like that whole framework kind of like boxes you as a business, because just because you're in this vertical, even though you're in a different geography, the mandate and the data historically kind of like is against your wave. You know what I mean? So I feel like having a generalist approach in a very PE way is really good for Asia specifically, just because there are no rich history of multipliers yet. And we don't know if a company will ever go 100x or 5x or 8x just because they fall under a certain vertical, right? I think that's one thing. And another thing, what I really want, what I really like about what you covered also is the challenge of localization when it comes to Asia, specifically Southeast Asia, right? I mean, I think all of Asia in particular, right? You talk about Japan, Korea, those are very two different markets. You look at China, which is a totally different animal. Then Southeast Asia is always talked about as a whole region. But you look into Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, like Philippines, we all speak different languages. Culture is so much different. We even watch the different sports, different types of entertainment. So I feel like that localization is what requires every investment firm to have a certain local arm in order for them to understand. And that's why AST I feel like is so good, because with you being here for 15 years, you kind of like help investment firms, like inch by inch understand what it's like here. So now you talked about PE already, right? Let's talk about VC money, right? Because I feel like VC money here in Asia have mostly started with private equities wanting to diversify and doing VCs so that they can have more speed. And it's kind of like a balancing act where you have private equity money, you have VC money, whatever it is you earned slowly, maybe you can earn here like in a multiplier. That's kind of like the principle that I see, at least from the funds around Asia. Beyond that, what I also see, like what you mentioned, are family conglomerates. But the challenge with family conglomerates, especially when I meet like VCs of family conglomerates, is they invest in a VC more as a strategic rather than financial returns. Meaning it needs to be able to serve the family business that they built for 10, 50, 30, 80 years or whatever it is, right? So what ends up happening is you grow a company latching on into the growth of a certain conglomerate. But the problem with that, the good with that is you'll grow fast. The problem with that is you're also in competition with the other families, right? So like picking one family over the other, like that's also a very complicated decision as a founder, right? So maybe you can talk more about that in terms of like how VCs, in terms of your lens, have developed.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can hear your story. Sounds like a good Filipino drama.
Yeah, I mean, you know how dramas are in Asia with K drama, Filipino drama, Thailand drama. Like you see it all on
I know, I
YouTube and
know.
TikTok, man. Like
At
it's
least
it's,
this is
it's part
at
of
least
it.
this is one thing that each of the country have in common. They all have their dramas.
That's so true. That's so
And
true.
they're very popular. But no, I think you are correct. I mean, to follow on your last point around the families, it has been as I say, doing, let's say, private investments
Hmm.
into companies as is still something new to them. Um, they never did that ever before. They were leading, and then when there's something they like, they were just buying. They were just buying the companies 100% and
By
integrate.
revenue, by asset,
This
by
has
revenue.
always
Yeah.
been. This is always they have done. And each of the families split the sectors. They don't compete too much, because they know each other well and they know there is no benefits for that. So this is how they have built their businesses. But they realized that doing that, when the speed of acceleration and change, especially technology, is too fast, they're completely losing huge parts of the economy and of the future growth. And then they stuck with businesses that are brick and mortar, all type of business with low margins versus very high margin tech asset like businesses. And then they had to kind of try to change. So some have they started to say, okay, we have money, we're gonna put into funds. So they just become limited partners of funds, maybe to learn. Some have created dedicated teams of some good ones, some not as good ones. I would say about professional manager, but sometimes it's gonna be who is gonna be one of the relative of the family who's gonna lead that. And then some are very strong, some are not as strong. It depends on the history. And I think this is just a phase. And as well, on top of that, as is a lot of generational wealth, you started to have, let's say, especially let's say for newer countries. So Philippines is a bit unique in that sense because some of them are from newer generation. But let's say in China or Hong Kong, some of the big families in Southeast Asia in general, some of the big families are
Indonesia,
first,
Indonesia is
Indonesia are
yeah, perfect.
first. Yeah, some of them are first generation, and
Mm.
then they are just moving towards the second generation. So it's not something that has been passed on already for 3, 4 times, like so or more, some of the big US or some of the big European families. So there is still a lot of learning within the model of how to manage that and how to be sustainable in a way in managing their capital and keep on growing over generation over generation over generation. Because yeah, if you have made your wealth in real estate, yeah, there is a certain amount of when you have built, you know, zillions of apartments, there is a certain limit at some points of how many you can build when you have built the entire country. you wouldn't have the same acceleration rate whether than everyone did have an apartment, and now when 80% of the people are in cities. So it's about how can you manage that well. And I do think that but I do think what's very exciting is a lot of young managers from these families, younger generation, a lot of them educated overseas as well, have seen the world, are coming. They understand that there is so much room to, let's say, for example, to digitalize the economy. And we can see it very well in the Philippines. I have quite a lot of my friends doing that and investing in companies in the Philippines, in different parts of the ecosystems, because there is so much to do. The population is very digitally savvy, and COVID has accelerated dramatically the digitalization of the economy. A lot of services that were brick and mortar now became, much more faster and easier to do. And I think you can see these trends across many Southeast Asian countries, which allow more business opportunities, more investment opportunities. So I would say that we're seeing a more professionalization uh, of the investments, and they have done mistakes and they learn fast.
That's true. That's true. I mean, both in private equity and VCs obviously have two different kind of like philosophies, right? Generally, but I feel like in terms of business economics and understanding sustainability, that's pretty clear in Asia because I mean, especially in Southeast Asia, because we're so used to not having so much capital. You know what I mean? Versus just a flow of capital from Series A to Z,
Mm.
which is coming from the West, right? So I think the principles are a bit different, the unit economics are different, and the cost ratios are also different, right? So I think talking about that, let's talk about like the sports and the entertainment sector, which you are in are focused on, right? Like, what can you talk about, like the sports IPs of Asia? What's the opportunity? Because I remember we had a really like good chat about
Mhm.
this, about
Mhm.
how there are lack of IPs in terms of entertainment and sports here in Asia. What are your thoughts on that, especially being in the space for a long time?
Yeah. Um, and I think is something that I am bullish. We have to be patient about building them, because you don't build those legacy businesses in a day. But I mean, we all know we love Champions League, but waking up at 3 in the morning is very tiring,
Mm-hmm.
especially when your team lose. So we need to. We love it, watching the NBA at whatever hours, depending on where your team is, whether the team is your team is traveling, is on the east coast, the west coast, or east coast. Some of the games they are fine early in the morning, but then it's messed up. So it's not easy to follow, right? And people are huge passionate about sports in general and entertainment. I mean, you can see the viewership of all those are led by Asia. There is so much sponsorship from Asia. So there is a huge passion. But what has been lacking was the let's say from the sports IP was the creation of strong local leagues. And the reason it's totally normal. I mean, this is not the first step you do when you build economies. People first need to have food and housing and education, and then after that you build the fun and entertainment. We have seen already there is huge success. If you see the North Asia side, I'm sure you have been to many Japanese baseball games or football games there, or Korean, that are super exciting and fun, and the full house and fun to watch, right?
Yes, that's true. Like, I totally agree with you. Like, I think you're on point on the part that it comes later in terms of building economies, because you want to focus on the sustainability of your well-being first before getting into the fun part, right? But I feel like in Southeast Asia, in a lot of Asian countries here, like there's so much IPs that develop in terms of entertainment. You look at the whole K-pop industry, the sports economies of both Korea and Japan, specifically Japan when it comes to JFL and the baseball leagues, where they were really able to like send out talents to the New York Yankees and such, right? With Southeast Asia, I think in particular the Philippines has always been a frustrated basketball
Yeah.
value chain, but we've never really like supplied an international talent yet. I don't know if that's gonna come or not, but I mean that's has always been the aspiration when it comes to the Philippines. But talking about like
And you can see, for example, Viv is a great example. I was talking North Asia, but on Southeast Asia, I mean, the popularity of the PBA is insane in the Philippines. I mean,
yes.
recently our friend at the East Asia Super League, with the team of the Greater Bay Dragons. They was in the final of the President's Cup. It was a thriller, and that was what 56,000 people in the arena. I showed this photo. I was teaching at a very famous business school in France, and I was showing the photo of the indoor arena of the final of the President's Cup. And then I showed people, say, guys, you know where that is? It's a recent record for indoor arena basketball game this year, and no one knew. I said, this is in the Philippines, 56,000 people. I said, oh, and then the people are like, really? I mean, those guys, they even have arenas? I said, so I was like, I tell you, and then I wanted to open their eyes. I'm going to tell them, guys, things are happening and the passion is there. And with people, but now what is good is with more and more professionals and people care about content and quality of entertainment and fun, the product is become better because it's not about just having people to play against each other. You need quality, but you need a good product. People
Yes.
now are used to watch quality. They watch the NBA, they watch the Premier League, they watch Netflix. So quality and consistency in the content is critical. You can turn on TV from anywhere in any bar. If it's an NBA game, even if you're like 50 meters away, you will know it's NBA just from the look of the small screen.
The quality.
Consistency, consistency in product deliverable, and you know that you work in the entertainment space. Whatever you do is about consistency and quality of product
That's true.
because there is so much to consume. This is what's to be done. And I think in Asia before, it was not really focused about the quality of the content. It was really focused on we need to compete, we need to have the best player, we need to have this, that. But actually, people they won't care about. They want to have fun. And if
The
the product is
packaging.
and if the product is good, people will go. If there is a good atmosphere, in the stadium, of course, the good, fun, a good sponsor, goodies, like a cool, fun entertainment thing, you will go. And the quality will rise because it will attract people. But I think people, they don't really go for the quality. They are passionate about their teams. They will support them. And if it's fun, it's fun. But then you go to so many arenas in Asia. For example, you go there, the F&B is crap, the entertainment is crap, the entire transportation to go is crap. So all these things which actually make you want to spend your time and your money for that is not made for. And this is where esports took a lot of the market share and grew so much.
Yeah, I was about to get there. You actually read my mind. You actually read my mind. I mean, we've been trying to crack the sports of Asia for the past years, and it's always been will it be football? Will it be baseball? Will it be basketball? But eventually it became esports. I mean, that's the reality of it. And outside of PC sports, especially specifically in Southeast Asia, what mobile sports really brought to the population was just different. It's because how many people in Asia can afford a PC versus how many people have smartphones, right? And I think that platform has really decentralized and really democratized entertainment in sports to everyone in the market, literally. Because I mean, some of the challenges in sports is literally logistics. Like, how many courts do we have? How many, like football fields do we have? How many tennis courts do we have? Like, all of these will require capital and will require space and will require a lot of other things, right? But when you're talking about mobile esports now, especially with Starlink, like the improvements of a lot of things when it comes to the internet, I feel like it has really democratized entertainment when it comes to competition. So esports, I feel like in particular, has been very consistent when it comes to its quality, just because the games are making sure that it's like that, right? The Dotas of the world and the Mobile Legends of the world have always been consistent with broadcast quality. And I feel like the additional entertainment that comes with esports to me are the commentators. Because at times when it comes to sports,
You
people
read
need,
my mind too.
yeah, because
I
people
was
tend
gonna
to,
say you're missing the casters.
yeah, because the commentators in the sports space needs to have a certain political correctness because they're on TV. While on the other hand, if you're a commentator live on Twitch or in Facebook or in
Yeah.
YouTube, then there is a little bit of like an extra leeway to just go a little bit colored. You know what I mean? Not to a point of cursing, but just to a point of like more color, right? So I feel like the energy of commentators, especially I came from that space, right, is just different
I
in
know.
esports as well. So like, can you talk about that, like the excitement in esports? Obviously, I believe in the world where both esports and sports will be together and will exist. But what is exciting about esports here in Asia?
Yeah, but as you said, I think you described it very well. It's like a um, fun. Everyone plays the game. Everyone understands the games. Everyone has access to the games, and it's something that people share. And people in Asia now, okay, now we're talking about gaming, but now people in Asia loves playing whatever games it is.
That's true.
I mean, Macau is not Macau for a reason. You
That's
know,
true.
I mean, during the Lunar New Year festival, what do? You play games with everyone all the time during the Lunar New Year. Money games. This is the thing. It has always been betting. It's huge. Everyone loves those.
That's
It's
true.
really into the culture of fun. Is playing games. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so already I think you have that as a backbone, and then on top of it, uh, people here are always very digitally savvy, and they became very good. And esports is big in Asia also because Asia is winning. Asia,
I didn't say that. He said it.
but it's true. Asia
That's true.
wins
It's
every.
true.
Asia wins everything. I mean, you can see. I mean, who took the last 12 over the last 12 or 12 worlds of League of Legends? Beside one, uh, beside one is 11 Asian titles. If you look at every competition, whether in Dota, there is a bit more things in
Yeah.
CS. In CS, maybe a bit more.
Yes. 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 Europe.
I would say, yeah, because it's originally a game more played in Europe. But in mobile games, I mean, it's of course there is no one in the world that can even compete. I mean, we saw, we have stars here with on MLBBs who wins every title. The trophy cabinet is already getting too small. Uh,
Yeah. I
and
think generally, like, the way I see esports, just like in sports, right? Like, there is a bit of like a historical disadvantage when you don't have the years that come with a certain geography. And I feel like I heard this in so I heard this in Dubai when someone mentioned he feels that a geography or a certain country's esports development will always rely on a game that will transcend to its culture. So, for example, with Southeast Asia, at the time it was Dota 2, at the time it was Dota 1, at the time it was League of Legends. And
Mhm,
now it's becoming more mobile. With
mhm,
Korea, it was StarCraft, and then eventually it became Overwatch, and then League of
mhm,
Legends at the same time. With
mhm.
Japan, that game hasn't really come yet before Valorant. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Valorant is really changing that space.
I
So
know.
what I'm saying is that
Yeah,
I think if you look at the years of history in sports for the West when it comes to the basketball and football, right? Baseball. I think they're at an advantage because of all their history and the things they learned in generationally. You know what I mean? It's like your grandfather telling you that this is how you should play. It's like your dad telling you that this is how you should shoot and all of these things. This is how you kick a ball or something like that. And I think with esports, it has gotten to a point where like the old Dota players are the fathers to the kids of mobile players, and then eventually they're like, "This is how you play MOBA. You don't farm like this. You don't throw around like this." And I've seen that dynamic with some of our players, where one of my former players, father was a former Dota player, and he was really hard on his kid, teaching the technicalities of a MOBA game. And I think it's such an interesting thing to see, right? So like what I'm saying is that I feel like the longevity of a certain sport or esport plays a lot in terms of who wins or not. So
yeah.
maybe Asia is kind of like winning because there is just a historical and generational experience when it comes to video games here.
Yeah, but I agree on one side, but on the other side, to be fair, I think just Asians are better because everyone, not because everyone, if you look at, everyone had the game at the same time around the world.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
So
true. I can say
we
that too.
we start from a fair. Everyone at the game released at the same time. Okay, now So we have a lot of more Asian game release because publisher they don't really care about the rest of the world. This is not very politically correct, but it is true. uh, because the fans are here, the consumers are here, and what's gonna become popular in Asia will then become popular somehow in the rest of the world. But on mobile, I mean, to be fair, the reason I mean when I mean this is a big topic every time I go back, to US or Europe. For the last 3-4 years, I always tell them, guys, mobile is the thing, mobile is the thing. You need to understand what's happening in Asia. And still until this day, they don't understand it. But of
Um,
course, but I get
I,
it.
I
I
get it. I
understand
get it.
why.
I totally
I
get it. I
understand
totally
why.
get it.
There is not even a 5G network down there. How
Mm.
can they even play mobile games? They
I
don't
I,
understand.
to- I totally get it because I've been in esports for 12 years. I was fighting the battle between sports and esports for a time where the visualization of a certain sport to them is a physical activity that required a ball. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
eventually trying to push for people who sit and play in PC is something they couldn't accept. And now that PC is here and has been accepted and is actually bursting as a bubble, now they
Hmm.
can't accept mobile because it's a different platform altogether, as in a way like a weaker platform to some people's eyes. But what they don't see is the complication of mobile is also so much different because because it requires a different set of like skill set. It requires a totally different set of speed because the games are shorter as well, but I feel like on an entertainment perspective, it fits so much in terms of advertising. Because how many working class can actually watch a 1 hour game versus a 15-minute mobile game, right? So like that in a way is the instant noodle to the ramen. You know what I mean? So some and instant sales. So like this is the world we're living now. Like you look at TikTok, shorts, reels, and whatnot. We're living in a world of 30-second attention span.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like mobile is the future. I believe it. Not saying that it will make the other games and sports extinct, but I feel like it's really here to stay.
Yeah.
So let's talking about mobile, talking about esports. We talked about investments and stuff. How about
Mhm.
advertising in esports? Like, can you talk about that more?
In what way? You mean like in terms of sponsorship, in
Yes,
terms of
sponsorships.
I
Because
think
media rights is another issue, but
yeah,
sponsorship first.
I mean yeah, exactly. I think on sponsorship side, um I do think that we are started to so last few years, of course at the moment everyone is a bit some people are a bit cold for various reasons, but I think with the numbers that were driving in esports, let's say 2021, 2022, have shown the amount of engagement that those I would say games were driving. And when I say esports is also, I think we make you put even a broader. I said new type of media that are led by casters as well and
That's true.
influencers. So we need to put it as a broader category because now technically, yeah, you're gonna cast. I'm a media company. I cast esports games. I can cast other things. And just I wanted to bounce back to what you were saying earlier about the power of caster. We have seen some super successful cases now of having casters casting traditional sports games. We see the new league launched in Spain by Gerard Piqué and Ibai. That is super popular football games. They created their own teams and he cast. In France, for example, there is an example of a super popular game casted and esports racing, like a racing Formula 3 races that last year they broke all the record of
Wow.
in Europe in terms of engagement. They had like 1.3, 1.5 million on Twitch over 12-hour period on the Formula 3 races. And on a football game, they did a game which was France versus Spain with only influencers and casters. And one that was casting a lot is someone that I know personally very well called Camero, who is the biggest, one of the biggest caster in Europe, in France. And he just made the event popular by casting with all the other casters. And on that day, they broke the record for a football game watched in the country that year through the platform, through Twitch. So It's not about, is it football, is it esports, is it whatever. Is new generation of consumer and fans that love this community and want to be part of as well. So I think, now you are on top of the pyramid and you can conduct the content according to what you want. So
That's
to
true.
go back to your question, this allows you even more to create an even wider portfolio of assets to bring sponsor into it. Even some sponsors that were a bit cold, oh, it's gaming, it's gaming, it's gaming. Now they see the numbers, so getting less cold. They see the conversion, so they are getting happier and happier. But then on the other side, they see additional assets that you can co-create, create with them, and whether it's to whatever type of entertainment, and can widen even more the type of sponsor you can bring. And we started to see a lot of brands that are just the beauty of these D2C brands. They have instant results of their sponsorship into gaming related, especially when it's mobile driven, because you can push a lot of
Affiliate
advertising
marketing
through,
links.
affiliate marketing through it. So in the mobile gaming space, there is so much more opportunity and direct opportunity. And then the funnel is very clean, the metrics are very clean, and then the engagements are good, and people come back. And that's why you have made, build a beautiful company in that space, being one of the thought leader in understanding that this is how the economy and the future digital economy will work, and the influence coming from content creation drive through mobile with a new form of agency advertising.
Yes, actually, like I've talked about this multiple times internally in the company where when people talk about media rights and when people talk about the importance of distribution, I think how I want to redefine in this podcast, because this is my first time saying this out loud, is that distribution from an understanding of the old generation and this new generation, I think, is different, right? And where I want to go to with this is that distribution before was about TV and cable channels, right? Like it's being part of like a cable network or like having a TV channel of your own. You buy that distribution and then all of your content is out there. But the problem and the challenge that came with the decentralization of content through social media is that you can never ever put everything back in the Pandora's box, which is TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people now have a choice of what to watch. And because that happened, once after everything got decentralized, the quality had to go up because there was just more competition for attention, right? So when tier one looks at distribution, we don't look at distribution based on in which platform are you at, in which TV channel, what cable network are you at. Distribution, as defined by us, are the assets we have, meaning our esports team, our influencers, our media properties that are then distributed into the multiple things because they act as both as a supply and a distribution in a way. And I think that's the difference between what we've created and what all the other esports organizations are trying to create today when they're trying to get into the influencer space because we were influencer first, so we were really fortunate to have gotten all the attention, all the distribution and the
Mm-hmm.
assets that we've had. Versus if you're just an esports team, you just have like 4 or 5 assets. That's it. And then
Yeah,
if you're losing,
you're very limited. But then
mm,
after now, in your growth strategy, you are thinking, okay, what are the new channels that I could use for distribute new content, new creation, and then new, let's say, advertising business on top of it, or what, or some sort of engagement. Where can I drive engagements? So I think this is what's exciting. But as you said, the good word, real word is now we're moving from a centralized towards a decentralized type of asset mode more and more, and platforms are giving that are leading are the one led by the creators. So the creators that are working hard, that are casting, because caster is a tough job. People don't, oh, it's cool, he's a big caster, but caster is tough. You know, you were a caster, you know
yes.
what it is. It's tough on the health. It's not an easy job. You need to be every day grinding. It's not easy. A lot of
Because
people want to be. It's very tough job. And
you need to
then
have energy, you need to have storytelling, you need to be able to have like a very quick wit. Like you need to be witty.
yeah, exactly. So, but then the creators, luckily, more and more out of our economy are getting the power back, which is beautiful. This is what we want. And on top of that, if I can make a transition to it, is is looking at, okay, if you look at gaming and the current issue we have in gaming and media rights distribution, we do know that how can we give back the power to creator of games? And luckily, we start to have much more decentralized gaming platform through Web3 technologies. So thanks to that, there will be definitely some changes because the future games, fun games, are gonna be on these new platforms where the creator are also the shareholder, the owner, the animator of the community, and they are the entire success of it. It's not a classic funnels where I go on a platform, I create something, you make money of it, but I make a small part because I'm just there to animate a community. No, the platforms are going to be successful because creators are in those, let's say, world, in those meta worlds, in those whatever we call them, in those metaverses, in those new worlds. This is where the experience are going to be. And now the way they are, they're gonna be huge platform with so many different games, and there will be a lot of. We can almost recreate any kind of games nowadays in any platforms. I mean, I'm sure you have played, the COD on Roblox. It looks like COD. It's on mobile. It's so much faster than any COD games. So nowadays, this is how it is. People don't know,
Yeah,
but this is the future of gaming. That's why I'm very excited for the creators, that people have community because they love gaming, everyone loves gaming. And now with the new functions and creator tools, I'm working with a lot of companies that are tech companies that are building creator tools, toolkits, middleware for the future of the Web3 platforms, whatever you want to call it. And this will allow you to create experiences, own the experiences, and monetize those experiences thanks to your community.
yeah, I think I totally agree. Like in every sense of the word, I feel like Web3 and social media have really turned to become probably the IPO of attention, specifically for social media, and then for ownership when it comes to Web3. And everybody, especially in my time, taught us about what the marketing funnel looks like, right? And it's always a triangle, like in every people's eye, it's a triangle. But I feel like in this new world, it's not even in a certain shape anymore. It's more of like a smoke where it can come in from anywhere. It's not just a simple liquid that you can
it's
put.
it's like corals.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's just out there. It can come from anywhere. It's so decentralized, and it doesn't come in a certain shape or form because
Yeah.
it has really opened up in the world already because of user generated content and the options that came with the tools that we have today. So, by the way, I've spent so much time, like it's always like this with me and JB. Like we always like go long when it comes to our conversations, but I think I have to cut this for now because it's almost more than an hour. But JB, man, like thank you so much for doing this. I know your time is very valuable. I know you lost probably 1 hour of possible investments because you did this with me. But thank you very much for doing this. If you wanna have like a final shout out or like message to anyone who watch this episode, go man, go.
So no, thanks again for inviting me. And again, congrats on what you have built so far and what you have come a long
Thank you.
way. We need more people like you in the ecosystems. And thanks for. I appreciate you inviting me and supporting us in the mission of educating Asia, people in Asia, about the opportunities in those business and economies we are. Because what's the thing we fight every day against? People say, "Oh, when I left my family office business, well, what are you going to sports? Why are you doing this? This is not even an economy. This is not even a business. And in Asia, entertainment, what are you talking about? There is nothing." And I said, that's exactly why I want to go in. We need to build. And I'm sure you have fight the same thing. And now people are
Yes.
like, oh, actually, that was maybe not that a stupid idea. So because we they see growing now, so that okay, that's what's interesting. So I think we need to keep on educate. And if I can go to two things, is one, empower more people in this part of the world that want to understand this sector. So please, we love to share. Don't hesitate to share, to register, to read our newsletter, because we are just here to educate as well. We love to share to that. And then the second thing is, everyone that has not done enough homework about the opportunities in Asia, wherever you live around the world, please do your homework, because very soon you won't be able to come and afford it. It's going to be too big and too large. So if you want to do things, it's really time for you to get moving. And now you can't blame on COVID or whatever not to come and do your homework physically. So please come, we'll welcome you, we'll treat you to good food and good way of hosting in Asia, and looking forward to see more of you in our part of the world soon.
Yeah, I mean, very well said, man. So I think for me, I know we've tackled a lot of things, but I know for sure that there are a lot of people who are looking for opportunities in Asia, and they don't know who is credible, who to trust, and who actually understands the market and has the language that they speak, right? And that's AST. So check out AST, guys. They're super cool people as well. Like if you fly to Hong Kong and be with Lauren and him, like it's gonna be one of the best trips you'll ever have here in this part of the world. So it's probably the best restaurant you'd ever go to in Asia. Plus, there's gonna be some horses. You know what I mean? Yeah, because the last time we went out, like it was, I went to the F1 of horses. I'm not trying to spoil it, but I had so much fun doing that with them. So anyway, like yeah, that's him, that's me, and thank you very much for listening and for taking the time to listen to this podcast. If you got to this point, that means at least we did something worthwhile for you to learn a thing or two about what we do here in Asia, in the startup world, in entertainment, sports, and esports. So thank you very much, guys. Cheers.